And in every place he stayed, he camped, he prayed, and he was a prophet. He prayed for what would eventually happen to his grandchildren in that place. The enemies that they would encounter, the trials and temptations and difficulties, he prayed for them and elevated the place. This is repeated, interesting theme, in the 40 years that the Jews traveled through the wilderness. The wilderness is traditionally associated with a place of not so good things. That's why people don't live there. But wild animals live there. And not good spirits live there. And during the 40 years that the Jews were in the wilderness, wherever they camped, they erected the tabernacle. What's a tabernacle? It's a place of worship for Hashem, a place of offerings, where the 10 Commandments were kept, the holy place at the center of the Jewish camp. And it purified the place, being there. It took down the strength of the negative powers in that place. And that's a replication of what Abraham was doing, only he was doing it all alone. Here was the whole Jewish people, millions of people camping through the wilderness, which weakened the power and the forces of the Sitra Achra, which we're just learning about in chapter 1 of Tanya. Okay, a little attendance first. Chaya Atkins has moved to the top of the page. And Chana Bera has moved down to second place. I don't know why. Chana Bera used it. Because Bera used to be in first place. Leah Ferdman is there at the back, right? Yes. Robin Gar didn't arrive yet. She's hitting baseballs. Shoshana Chosed is coming soon.
She's here.
She's here. I saw her at the coffee station. At the well. Malka just came in, right? Rachel's not here yet. Rivka Ram, not here yet. Hana Ruman is here with glasses on. Chedva no, Beth Shapiro no. Rachel Chana. Rachel Chana, yes, of course, there you are. Tahir. And Batya, Achron Chavi.
Yes. Wow.
Oh, here's Shoshana Chassid. Just to share with you a story, a recent story that I heard Friday night. This story was told many times by Rabbi Yisrael Friedman, Oliver Sholem, who was a teacher, a mashpia, a magid shir, a mashpia in Oli Torah for many years, a very brilliant young man. My son learned from him and told me they used to say this story many times. There was a chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek, his name was Menachem Mendel. Tzemach Tzedek, by the way,
He was the first one?
Gematria. Tzemach is Gematria. Menachem and Mendel is Gematria Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek is the name of the Rebbe Menachem Mendel.
Rabbi.
In a hinted form.
He was the
grandson. He is the grandson, the orphaned grandson of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe raised him on his knees. He was orphaned because his mother, the famous tzaddikus Devorah Leah gave up her life for the sake of her father, the Alter Rebbe. She was a very holy person. And she became aware of the fact that there was a decree in heaven against her father, who was spreading the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, she took action. What did she do? She took the three foremost Hasidim, followers of her father, brilliant people, and made a rabbinical court out of the three of them.
A rabbinical what?
A court.
Court. Oh, court.
A court,
Yeah.
court of law. And she forced them to make a legal decision with the power of their trifold power, that her life would be accepted in heaven in place of her father's. And they refused to do this. This was wild talk. But she was very strong-minded and insistent, and she forced them to do it. And they did it. I think it was Erev Rosh Hashanah, and the day after Rosh Hashanah, she passed away. But she had a child, a young child, an infant, and she made her father promise that he would take care of him. So he raised him. And that was the infant, Menachem Mendel, who became the third Rebbe of Lubavitch. He became the son-in-law of his uncle, who was Rabbi Dober. Rabbi Dober is the son. See, it goes like this. The Maggid of Mezrich, his name was Dober. He was the foremost student of the Baal Shem Tov. And the Alter Rebbe was his closest student. And the Alter Rebbe sensed that the Maggid did not have much time left. And the other students didn't realize this. And he was with the Maggid in his last week, his last days, in the month of Kislev, that's next month. And on the 17th day of Kislev, the Alter Rebbe was married. He had daughters, brilliant girls, but he never had a son. He asked a bracha for a son. So the Rebbe quoted to him, the Rebbe is Rabbi Dober, the Maggid of Mezrich, quoted to him a pasuk from chapter 119 of Tehillim, where it says there, how should a young man choose the right path in life? And he transposed the words to say, how should a person merit to have a young man, like as a son? Nar es orche. Through orche, his path in life, the word path is also the same word as travelers. Through achnasas orchim, through having guests, you'll merit to have a son. That's what the Maggid said to him. And when you do, remember me, he said. The Alter Rebbe was shocked. He didn't want to hear words like that. I don't want to have to remember you. I want to be with you. I don't have to remember you, implying that you're not going to be alive. And then in the days that followed, he gave him a lot of instructions about making a shalom zachar and making a bris. And exactly a year later, on the 10th, less than 1 week, on the 10th day of Kislev, the Alter Rebbe had a son, his first son. He wanted to call him by the name Hamanuna, which is a name that means belief like Emunah, like Camp Emunah. Emunah means belief, a sage of the Talmud, because this child was connected on the level of his soul with the sage Rabbi Hamanuna, who's going to come up in chapter 2 of the Tanya. But he couldn't give him that name because his Rebbe had said, remember me. So he had to give the child the name of his Rebbe, which was Dovber. So the child of the Alter Rebbe, the first son, the eldest son of the Alter Rebbe, was called Dovber. after the Magen of Mezrich.
Or Sholem Dober.
No, not Sholem Dober. His brother-in-law was Sholem Shachna. Sholem Shachna was married to his sister, Devorah Leah, and they had a child they called him Menachem Mendel. And when she gave her life for the sake of her father, she made him promise to raise the child. And so that's the story of how the Tzemach Tzedek became the child raised by the Alter Rebbe. Just a story about the two of them, that one time the Alter Rebbe was playing with this child and said to him, "Where is Zayda?" He said to him, "Where?" He held him on his arm and said, "Where is Zayda?" So he said, pointed, "No, that's not Zayda. That's Zayda's nose." "Where is Zayda?" So he pointed at him and said, "That's not Zayda. That's Zayda's chest. Where is that's Zayda's ear?" So finally, the child got tired of this game, and he, made himself go down. A child can make himself very heavy, and you drop him. So he put him down. And then when they did whatever they did, and the Alter Rebbe went to leave that room to go to a different room, and the child said, "Zayda," and he turned around. He said, "Oh, there's Zayda." He called him, he turned around, he said, there's Zayda. It's a very interesting story. Okay, so this is the story about the Tzemach Tzedek. There was a chassid who was a very simple person. He didn't have the technical skills or the brains, the intellectual ability to learn how to learn Talmud and Medrash and all these wonderful things. And it pained him that he wasn't able to learn Torah. So he went to the Tzemach Tzedek and he asked a blessing. What am I going to do? He's told him, read Tsen Orena. Read Tsen Orena. What's Tsen Orena? Tsen Orena is a quotation of words. Go out and see. That the young ladies would say on the 15th day of Menachem Av, the young ladies would all exchange clothes with one another, and they would go out into the vineyards, and they would call to the young men and say, "Young men," they would go out and raise up your eyes and choose yourself a good wife. Some said, "How do you choose a good wife? Look for a good family. You look for a good family, and you'll have children like from that family." And others said, "Look for beauty. Look for a beautiful wife, someone that you'll love and respect and honor and take care of her." What did the girls say who didn't come from good families and weren't particularly beautiful? They said, they quoted Proverbs, Shlomo HaMelech. Sheker achein v'hevel hayofi. Graciousness is false. Beauty is vanity. The main thing you have to look for in life is Yireh Shamayim. Choose a girl who's a Yireh Shamayim. And even though she doesn't have money and she doesn't have good looks, but buy her nice things. The Rebbe teaches the whole thing up, explains the whole thing up. Yeruchni is going to buy her nice things. It means give her a life of Torah and mitzvahs with a hiddur and with joy. Okay, but that's what they would say. Read. So what is Tsen Orena? Tsen Orena is the name of a book, a compilation of stories connected with the Sedra that tells the story of every Sedra. It's in Yiddish, and it's for people who can't learn. And they can read this book chapter by chapter and get the story of the Torah, no Torah. So that's what the Tzemach Tzedek said. Since you don't have the ability to learn Talmud, read Tsen Orena every week. You'll get the Chumash. You'll get the story of the Chumash from this book. By the way, I recommend it. It's been translated into English. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. Tzena Orena. Tzenna. U and or Rena, and behold. Young men, go out and behold, and look up. Choose yourself a good wife. They celebrate this every year. The girls go dancing in the fields. Pardon me? I think the phone here has a cough. Anyway.
Sorry.
And he took that book and he read, it's in Yiddish, it's simple Yiddish for people who have not learned. Very often women read it. Women who never went to yeshiva, they read this book. It's full of Yirah Shamayim. So he read it religiously. Every week he would read it. He would read the Seno Arena on the week's Parsha. And then a terrible thing happened. He had a young son, and the young son died. And he didn't know what to do. But he remembered there's a story, it's brought in Seno Arena around this time of year. I think Parshas Vayera, Parshas Vayera. Of Elisha. Elisha was a prophet. He was the disciple of Eliyahu Hanavi. And there was a woman, he used to stay, when he would come to a certain place, he would stay in the house of a righteous woman there. She had a special room where he would stay. And he had a servant named Gehazi who made a lot of trouble for him and for others. And he said to Gehazi at one point, how should I thank this woman? She doesn't want to take any money. She puts me up all the time. He said, give her a blessing, she should have a child. She has no children. So he gave her a blessing, she should have a child. And she had a child. And she was very happy. She rejoiced. And a few years later, the child went out to see his father, who was working in the fields, a child maybe 5 years old, and he complained of headaches, and he went home, and he died. And she covered him up, she took him to a room, and then Elisha came, and she told Elisha, look what's happened here. And Elisha closed himself up in the room together with the child. And it says he lay on the child, put his hands on his hands, his face on his face, his mouth on his mouth. He breathed into him. He did this a certain number of times, and the child was revived. He revived the child. And the simple person took out his Seno Arena. He looked up the story. And the child was revived. He revived the child. A big tzaddikim cannot do this. And the simple person read Seno Arena. And so the people said, see how great is Seno Arena? A person can read Seno Arena and revive the dead. And the Rebbe said, so Rabbi Friedman said, those are foolish people, foolish people. It wasn't Seno Arena that revived the dead. It was the Rebbe's Seno Arena that revived the dead. You understand? Because the Rebbe had told him to read Seno Arena, his Seno Arena was not a regular Seno Arena, it was the Rebbe's Seno Arena. And in that was and his complete trust and belief in the Rebbe was what gave him the power to make this miracle. I'll tell you a similar story. That one story will help you to understand the other. There was a chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek whose wife complained the whole time she had headaches. She had migraine headaches. It was driving her nuts. She said, go to the Rebbe and ask a bracha. I shouldn't have these terrible headaches. So he went to the Tzemach Tzedek, and Tzemach Tzedek said, no problem. Tell your wife to wash her face with hot water, and it'll be okay. She hear good news. So she washed her face with hot water and the headaches went away. Came the time when the Tzemach Tzedek was no longer there. And his young son, the Rebbe Maharash, became the Rebbe. And the headaches came back. So the wife complained, said, the headaches came back. Go to the Rebbe. So he went to Rebbe Maharash and told him the whole story. And he said, my father said, your wife should wash her face with warm water. Let her wash her face with cold water. So she began to wash her face with cold water and the headaches went away. The Rebbe Maharash did not live so very, very long. And eventually the headaches came back. So again, now a third time, she sent her husband to the new Rebbe, was the Rebbe Rashab, that's Sholem Dovber, and told him the whole story. And so he said, my grandfather said, wash your face with warm water. My father said, wash your face with cold water. So wash your face with cold water and warm water. And he did, and the headaches went away. So is that a good piece of advice if you have headaches?
No, probably not.
It's only a good piece of advice if the Rebbe gives it to you. That's the point. Okay.
But what happened at the end?
What happened in the end?
Yeah.
They lived good long years together and she washed her face with hot and cold water. What happened to her children? Her children didn't have headaches.
Good.
Anyway, that's the story that Rabbi Friedman used to tell. We're learning Tanya, chapter 1. We learned last day about the 4 elements. Let's put a little diagram on the board. It's very important you get this clear in your minds. You should remember the whole time. Fire, water. Now I'm giving them in the order that they're listed in the Tanya. This is obviously not the natural order. Air, because air goes above water, right? And earth. These are the 4 elements that are in every one of us. Where's the fire? Now you're 98 degrees hot. Okay? We are 98 degrees physically, 98.6 degrees. Right? Water, we are 75% water. That's why you're all drinking the whole time. And air, we're breathing how many times a minute?
12.
12, is that right?
16.
16,
Yeah.
12 to 16 times a minute you have to breathe, whatever it is. And earth, basically that's your body. Your body is earth. Okay, that's our physical makeup. This physical makeup has a spiritual counterpart. On the negative side, fire is the element in the animal soul that expresses itself in what?
Like a fiery person?
Can't hear.
A fiery person?
A
Like
fiery person, how's he gonna behave?
angrily?
Angry. Or
Like the good thing?
Prideful.
what?
Prideful.
Pride,
Arrogance.
arrogance,
Yeah.
arrogant, pride. These are all negative character. We like to be with people like that? No.
No.
Very unpleasant people. Okay, water is the source of all pleasure. Just think of a watermelon without the water. Okay, all the hotels, the fancy hotels and casinos, they have swimming pools, right? Beach. Nothing better in Israel than to go to the beach on Saturday. Air. Air is speech. What kind of speech in the animal soul? Ho, ho, ho.
Like just talk.
Lashon hara,
Oh, yeah, Lashon hara.
gossip, scoffing,
Rumors.
bragging. All the egotistical things. Nonsense. Just talking nonsense. Some people just talk and talk and talk and talk, and then they talk some more. Yeah. And then there's earthiness. What is the earthiness in the animal soul?
It's laziness.
Laziness. Lethargy. And
Nonsense. It's also melancholy.
melancholy, sadness. Right, sadness. We keep the psychologists in business with this. This is business for the therapist. Now that's all the animal soul, but you have opposite this. Remember the spider principle, spider doing push-ups on the mirror. This opposite this, Hashem has made. In the divine soul, we have also the same thing, only it's good. What is fire in the divine soul?
Passionate. Passionate.
Passion for what?
For praying, davening. For davening. Yeah, like davening. Doing mitzvah.
Warmth.
It's like now.
Doesn't can daven and be cold like a fish. Warmth, enthusiasm, life. Lebedik. I used to daven with the children's minyan and the old rabbi, the chassid who established the whole operation, used to walk around the children. His feet were all shriveled from his time in Siberia, frostbite, and he used to say, Lebedik. It's fire. To learn, when you learn halacha, or you learn something in the Tanya. Here, girls, listen to this. It's from a Yang. If you learn something in the Tanya and it crosses your mind that after 120 years, you're going to learn this again in Gan Eden, the way they learn it in heaven.
Wow.
How are you going to feel about that thought? Whoa!
Yeah, I was like, wow.
That's the element of fire. That's learning with warmth, excitement, yeah? Excitement. EXCITEMENT. Yay! Excitement. Water, pleasure, to take pleasure. Pleasure in doing a favor, to have a geschmack. That's the Hebrew, the Yiddish word for it. A geschmack means, one thing is geschmack, it's delicious. It's, I love it. To love doing another person a favor. To have a geschmack in doing a favor for a person. To take pleasure, having pleasure in learning, pleasure in doing. Pleasure in doing a mitzvah. I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you the story many times. It's an unforgettable story. I had a friend in the minyan. I had to daven for my mother when she passed away. And in that minyan, it was never my minyan before, but they had an opening. I went to daven there. And there was a person there. He was a supervisor, a kasher supervisor. And I saw that he used to teach, he knew how to lane. And he used to teach the boys how to lane. So I asked him if he would teach my son. I had a son coming up to bar mitzvah. I asked him if he would teach him to lane. He said, sure. I would love to teach your son how to lane on the condition that you will learn with me Chassidus. I said, I should learn with you Chassidus. You know a lot of Hasidus. I don't know. He said, no, I want to learn with you, Hasidus. Anyway, so we learned for a year together. Every day we learned together. And all of a sudden he fell ill. He was a young man, he fell ill, and the illness raced through his body. I remember when he said to me, do you think I'm going to survive? I said, sure, of course. Anyway, the illness lasted 1 year and came Lag BaOmer the following year. Lag BaOmer, I had a young son at that, he's now 25 years old.
Wow.
He was 3 years old. Lag BaOmer was the day for his first haircut. We cut the hair of children who were born after Pesach on Lag BaOmer. And I took him to my friend. And he was sitting in his house. His lungs were full of disease. And he was sitting at his desk with his head on the table. And two people were visiting with him, just sitting with him, keeping him company. And I came in and they said, Avram, Shalom is here. And he said, oh, Dr. Shams, I can't learn with you today. I can't learn with you today. I said, I understand, Avram, but I didn't come to learn with you. I came to bring my son. It says, and he sat up and was filled with enthusiasm. Oh, he said, a mitzvah, a mitzvah. That to me is the epitome of pleasure that a person has in doing it. It totally revived him. The idea that he couldn't learn, but he could do a mitzvah, cutting a child's hair on Lag BaOmer. That's the element of water in the godly soul. The element of air, this is obvious. What we do with speech, what does your godly soul like to do with the element of air to speak, which is to daven. Now chaya is the idea of davening. The warmth. Hello.
Chaya.
You with me?
That's Chaya.
Where did you go?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, we got you back. To daven with warmth, the warmth has to come from the fire, but the davening has to come from the air. A person can be full of warmth and the love of God, but if he doesn't speak, he doesn't express it. You need to speak and what do you speak? You daven and you learn and you encourage. You praise others. Instead of bragging about yourself, you praise others. Everybody likes to hear a word of praise, don't we all? And that's the element of air in the godly soul. See if you can get through the day. How many times today can you say a word of praise to somebody else that'll make them feel good? There's your exercise. Spiritual exercise for the day. And earth, while earth is laziness and sadness in the animal soul, this is a tough one. What is the element of earth in the divine soul, in the godly soul?
Humble.
Humility, 100% right. Right on the mark. Humbleness. Humbleness. Or humility. Okay, in the first chapter of the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe discusses this side of things. That's all. This is what we're discussing. Just to make you aware of the spider principle. Everything has an equal and opposite counterpart in the world. So there was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Zusha. He used to say that you could learn 7 things from a thief. From a thief. You can learn how to serve God from a thief. We'll discuss them, what they are, maybe some other time. Because now it's time for the end of the class. And this is a review. Keep it in mind so we won't have to review it again tomorrow. We'll move on. Yes, Hannah.
So just to clarify, that these elements are derived from Klipa? Like these elements of fire, water, air, earth are derived from Klipa?
No, they are elements.
They're elements.
Yeah, and these are the basic elements of creation. Yeah, they could say they're from Klippus Noiga. And when they, how do they express themselves? When the animal soul plugs into these elements and they are expressing themselves through the animal soul, this is how they'll express themselves. And if the godly soul plugs into these elements, that's how the godly soul will express itself. Klippas Noga is the source of all activities and substances that can connect to God, that have nothing in them of ego and selfishness. And therefore can be elevated into the realm of the holy. And used for the service of Hashem. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Forgive me. I didn't want to embarrass you.
What?
I didn't mean to embarrass you. I just wanted to.
Also, like,